Now, if you own a square body, you probably wander over the road a little bit. You've replaced your gearbox, you've replaced all your suspension parts, tightened up everything. But there's one thing people always overlook, and that is the steering shaft on your square body. A lot of those have a rag joint on them. That's what they had back in the day. And I'm not going to get into what that thing's for. There's tons of videos and everything else on a rag joint and what you should do. You can make your own decision, but I've done this twice already on a square body, and it improves the handling and the steering on a square body. Now, when you look up this model on YouTube, a lot of people do it incorrectly. Don't know why. They got misinformation on forums and YouTube. From 1984 to 1994 Jeep XJ steering shaft on a square body. It has U-joints on both sides. It gets rid of the rag joint, and it tightens up the steering a little bit, because a lot of people say it does, but it really don't. What happens is your rag joint is probably stock from 1985. That's what my truck is. And you put this on there and it does feel like it tightens up the steering. Well, your rag joint's pretty ragged out, right? But the common mistake that I see on YouTube is they get a steering shaft from an XJ. Now, from what I've found out, there was a half year in '94, they went to a different style shaft, and basically it's the same thing. There's just glue in here, and upon a wreck it impacts in and all that. But if you get it 1984 to 1994, it's greased and it's made to go in and out with body flex. Like I said, they changed this in the later years. I don't know where people went wrong on the forums with these. I'll leave the link in the description below. You got people on YouTube getting the later year ones, beating them with a hammer. They're probably bending these, making them unsafe. Some of them have pinch dimples in them to keep this thing from sliding in and out. People drill holes in this, put bolts through it. You know, I'm gonna have my kid in this vehicle. I'm not looking to hurt somebody, right? So basically, you get the older style. Like I said, I've done this twice already. You get the older style and it flexes. It even has a little boot on there for you. So there's no modifications you have to do. The only modification that you might have to do is up on the steering column side where the bolt goes in. You might have to notch it for this bolt to go through. But this comes with new U-joints, new bolts, and everything else. Everything else should go right in. You just collapse it, uncollapse it, stick it on. It's that simple. A lot of people on YouTube, they're like, it's an hour job. It's a 2-hour job after I got done modifying it. It's simple. You just get the older one and it goes right on. No modifications needed, unless, like I said, you have to grind down a little groove for your bolt to go through. Depends what Chevy you have. Some of them do, some of them you don't. So just be prepared for that. But let's go ahead and throw this on the truck. Before you do any kind of steering work, what you want to go ahead and do is take your seat belt, run it through the steering wheel, and go ahead and buckle it. This will keep your wheel center, even if the ignition is locked. This will hold it in place. All right, so here's the steering shaft we're talking about. Up here's where you might have to groove a little hole or a divot. The other end, there's the rag joint. So basically, we're taking this bolt off, and there's a bolt down here. So here you're looking at the shafts side by side. They are identical in length. Here's your rag joint. And this goes up to your steering column side. As you can see, this is kind of egg-shaped for that. This is kind of egg-shaped for that. You have splines and you have splines. So in theory, this should work no problem. And like I said, like this. This collapses, so it'll give you plenty of room to get this thing in there. All right, as far as the top goes, bolt goes right in. So I'm gonna go ahead and clamp it down a little bit. But as you can see, I don't have to notch the steering column piece. The bolt goes right through there without a notch. So I'm just kind of clamping it down a little bit so I can go to the bottom and pull that part. Push this in. As you can see, slides right up on there. That's what I like about that flexible joint. You want to go ahead and put your bolt in. And then I'll put a little blue Loctite in here. But as you can see, there's that down there. There's this up here. And there's the steering wheel straight.